This video is about the third part, about service and servers on the subject. Ponder on this on Master Djwhal Khul and Alice Bailey. So if you haven't watched, rewatch first the two videos so you may understand where we continue our studies on page 455. The wise server, after action, pays no attention to what his fellow servants say, provided his superiors. He cares not if the result is not what which he anticipated, provided that he faithfully did the highest thing he knew. He cares not if reproach and reproof assail him. He cares not if he loses friends, relatives, children, the popularity once enjoyed, and the approbation of his environing associate, provided his inner sense of contact with those who guide and lead remains unbroken. He cares not if he seems to work in the dark and is conscious of little results from his labors, provided the inner light increases and his conscience has naught to say. So it means being so connected to your inner guiding system, to the guidance of the spiritual hierarchy or whatever inner guidance you have developed by developing your intuition, by stilling your mind, stilling your emotions, so that the inspiration and intuition from your higher soul can come true. So, of what real use am I? How can I, in my small sphere, be of service to the world? Let me reply to these questions by pointing out that by thinking this book into the minds of the public, by expressing before your fellow men the teaching it imparts, and by a life lived in conformity with its teaching, your service is very real. This will necessarily involve a pledging of entire personality to the helping of humanity, and the promise to the higher self that endeavors will be made to lose sight of self in service, a service to be rendered in the place and under circumstances which a man's destiny and duty have imposed upon him. You must see to it that your attitude towards all teaching is that of a willing service, with no thought of self, the growth in spiritual realization and the lifting of humanity is that which is of moment and not your own personal growth and development, nor your own satisfaction and receiving special and new information. You will grow and your soul will take increasing hold upon its instrument when your mind and effort are tuned towards group service, and when your tongue is rendered harmless through the inflow of love. This law of service was expressed for the first time fully by the Christ 2000 years ago. Today we have a world which is steadily coming into realization that no man liveth unto himself, and that only as the love about which so much has been written and spoken finds outlet in service, can man begin to measure upon his innate capacity. Service is usually imprinted as exceedingly desirable, and it is seldom realized how very difficult service essentially is. It involves so much sacrifice of time and interest and one's own ideas. It requires exceedingly hard work because necessities deliberate effort, conscious wisdom, and ability to work without without attachment. These qualities are not easy of attainment by the average aspirant, and yet today the tendency to serve is an attitude which is true of a vast majority of people of the world. Such has been the success of evolutionary progress. Service is a soul instinct. It is the outstanding characteristic of the soul, just as a desire is the out of the lower nature. So service is the desire of your soul, such as pure desire is the desire of your lower nature. It is group desire, just as the lower nature is personality desire. It is the urge to group good. It can therefore be taught or imposed upon a person as a desirable evidence of aspiration, functioning from without and based upon a theory of service. It is simply the first real effect, evidenced upon the physical plane, of the fact that the soul is beginning to express itself in outer manifestation. So as ever you go your spiritual path, it's a natural progression when you're more connected to your soul, and maybe you develop that ache in your heart to serve and to do good, and it kind of nothing else gives that fulfillment to your heart anymore, what it used to give material thing, other pleasure. Then it's just your soul expressing its desire to serve. And today we have much running after service, however deeply colored by personality, and produces much harm, for people seeks to impose their ideas of service and their personal techniques upon other aspirants. They may have become sensitive to oppression, but they oftentimes misinterpret the truth and are biased by personality, and they must learn to lay emphasis upon soul contact, upon active familiarity with the egoic life, and not upon the form side of service. So if care over the essential service, soul contact, is taken, then service rendered will flow spontaneously along the right lines and bear fruit. Of this, the selfless service and the deep flow of spiritual life have been demonstrated in the world. Work of late is a hopeful indication. There are those who have too much theory about service and its expression. They fail to serve. What effect does service have upon the mind, the emotion, and the etheric body? Service itself is definitely the result of tremendous inner happening, and when that result is brought about, it will found to have produced a number of creative secondary causes. There are primarily a change in lower consciousness, a tendency to turn away from things of the personal self to the larger issue, to the group, and real orientation is real and expressive, a power to change condition through creative activity, which is demonstration of something dramatically new. The first effect of the inflowing force of the soul, which is the major factor learning to demonstrate it, is to integrate the personality and to bring all three lower aspects of the man into one serving whole. This is a difficult and elementary stage from the angle of the student of the whole of the wisdom. The man becomes aware of his power and his capacity, and having pledged himself to service, he begins ruthlessly to serve. He creates this, that, and the other channel for expression of the force which is driving him. He tears down and destroys just conflicts, he temporarily becomes a serious problem to the other server with whom he may be associated, for he sees no vision but his own, and the aura of criticism surrounds him, and the strangest push of assertive force within him produces stumbling the little one, and there has to be a constant repair of work undertaken. He becomes a victim for the time of his own aspiration to serve and the force which is flowing through him. This ambition is the last analysis, only the personality urged towards betterment and in its right place and time is a divine asset, but if it is not to be rooted out when the personality becomes an instrument of the soul. In other cases, the server will come into a wider and more loving vision, and taking his eyes off his own accomplishment will go to work in silent unison with the group of all true servers. He will submerge his personality tendencies with his ideas and his ambition in the greater good of the whole, and self will be lost to sight. Let simplicity be your guide and one-pointed love your major objective. Choose a field of service which is definitive limits, and work mentally and physically within those limits. The completion of some self-appointed task within the field of karmic limitation and environment where your destiny calls to is all that is required from you. What are you accomplishing really at this time? Let your service lie within the field of contact where you find yourself, and reach not out over the entire planet. Is there any greater or more important task than to fulfill your task and carry its completion in the place where you are and with your chosen comrades? So it's about choosing the field of service where you are in your field of influence. Let humanity constitute your field of service, and may it be said that you knew the spiritual facts were a dynamic part of spiritual events. May it not be said of you that you knew these things and did nothing about them and failed to exert yourself. Let not time slip by as you work. Your task is to aid the work with the hierarchy plans to find the ways and means where that service can be wisely rendered, to discover the manner in which world need can be met, to finance that share in the work of brotherhood to which you have been assigned by your soul, and to do your part in developing those human attitudes which are needed if true peace it would be found in the world. So work not under strain or with effort. Bring ease and effortless expression into your daily relations. Conservation of energy, increased inner work will produce a greater magnetic realization but less physical plane activity. Work more in the light and see all people as in that light with you. All that any disciple or aspirant has to do in relation to his fellow man is to stimulate that light that is in them, leaving them free to walk their own light and way up on the path. Some people are constituted that they become servers and centers of light publicly before their fellow men. Their influence and their power are great. Others work from a quiet center of relative retirement, and they wield, if I may repeat myself, an equal force. You will ask what your service is to be. That, my brother, will grow out of your meditation. It is not for me to tell you what activity your personality must follow. It is your own soul which must do so. Work is done by action, not by talking. Be balanced. Remember that work for us embraces many things. And so discrimination from the essential and separating them from non-essential. You do not keep your line of service clear. You wander into too many fields of service which are not yours and where you're not wanted. In your work there is no great or little task, only obedience to the next duty, whatever it may be. You cannot possibly do everything that you see needs to be done. Therefore, do that which will bring along the greatest amount of good to the greatest numbers of seeking souls. The problem of all disciples today is to achieve successful activity in their chosen task of competent citizenship, of life occupation, and yet at the same time to add any cost and practical life of service. So I hope that was inspiring for you and gives you a picture that it's actually your own soul is the one that is bringing your service into form, and the greater your soul contact, the more ways of expression can flow through you with that loving intent for others. It's not about any status or anything, it's just a natural, effortless thing of your soul. If you have built that inner bridge of your spiritual nature, not in any way above others, but just to be a source of inspiration for others, that they can see their own light within themselves and let them have the freedom to do whatever they want with what you can bring the light forth in them. And with that, I wish you a great time and great discovery for you to find your true self and allow more of your intuitive faculty to emerge by being steady in your emotion and your mind, so you actually can comprehend, learn to comprehend and grasp what your soul wants to tell you all the time along where your path follows for this life. With that, take care and see you soon.